Good afternoon. My name is David Ellison Sr. I'm the pastor of the New Victorious Baptist Church. And there are a few words that we want to give you to encourage you from our young people. Please listen to them and take it to heart. And as always, be blessed and be safe.
Previously on MCC.
Should a Christian get divorced? No.
But if there's cheating involved, then that's the only way a Christian can get divorced.
I want to say there's an Old Testament scripture that talks about divorce, and it says something like, I only allowed divorce because you couldn't handle staying married after the sexual immorality.
Is the issue then the unforgiving Christian? Is it the offending Christian? Or is it that's what God had in mind when he allowed Moses to put that into the law?
Definitely don't think that's what he had in mind. But I think it was I think it's a combination of the offending Christian and the unwilling to forgive Christian.
I think it's what he had in mind. I mean, because even the scripture that we read said it was because of that, so he had to have that in mind. That was his reason for doing it. But I think it's the fault of, I'll say primarily the unforgiving Christian, but also the one who made the offense. But I think primarily on the unforgiving, because you don't have to wait for an apology to forgive. And when you forgive, it's not necessarily for that other person. It's for you, so that you don't have to dwell on that, so that you don't have that hatred built up inside of you.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like no one should offend you. I mean, you get angry and you get upset or whatever, but I feel like no one should offend you to that point to where you will never forgive them. I feel like there's a process, or I feel like, there's steps that go into that, but you shouldn't let that harden your heart, whatever situation it is. I know we're talking about divorce or cheating or whatever, you shouldn't let that harden your heart so bad that you can't forgive that person and then move on. You shouldn't stay in that. You shouldn't sit in that anger or however you're feeling in that situation. You should always move forward, and definitely as Christians, forgive and move on.
Is it possible that part of the process of forgiving and recovery and maybe even reconciling to some point, could part of that process then be to separate?
I mean, I think so. Cause I think if you see the person you're mad at every day, you're gonna stay mad. So separation can be a good thing.
I guess it could be, but I don't know if that's the proper way or the way it should be.
Okay, so now I know what the scripture said that we read, and I want to be clear that, and we didn't read that whole the first part of Mark chapter 10, first few verses, and if I recall correctly, the Pharisees or Jewish leaders asked Jesus a question about a person divorced and married someone else and so forth, and asked in heaven which one would he or she be married to, something like that, I believe. And so that was Jesus' response, that first of all, divorce is not God's will. And then the only addendum to that was allowed in the law was if there was adultery. Now, then just like now. That wasn't the reason that most or a lot of people were getting divorced. And so people were getting divorced for all kinds of reasons, or for no reasons at all. Okay. When you hear, for instance, you may hear in our day, we just fell out of love. That's no that's no reason at all. That's whatever. And so there are a gamut of reasons why people get divorced from again, no reason at all, to some real serious reasons that doesn't have anything to do with adulterous relationships or people having affairs. And so those things have to be considered also. For instance, if there is abuse, whether physical or verbal or emotional or whatever, any kind of abuse, should a Christian get a divorce?